I've had a lot of Americans say Africans think they're better than Americans.
That's what it comes across.
She said it's mostly a cultural thing. They're not looking at us, they haven't had the experience that we have. So, whatever they're seeing on the media or how African Americans behave, that's what they come in with the mindset.
Africans think a lot of Americans, if not all, they're wealthy.
Yes. That is true. They do think that, like, just money. And I think because we have a system that we can go to credit cards and outside sources, and we can pretty much get what we want, pay a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really translate like here to wealth. It's just that I can get what I want.
Just
across, but right, debt, exactly. It's a debt. It's just debt.
Like, you must be lazy, or you must be wretched or ghetto. You're this way. So they're coming with that same mindset. They're not right. Coming with the mindset because they're coming as a different culture. They don't see a connection, based on skin color. Exactly. Because their culture's different. There's so many Africans, there's so many different tribes or different religions are different, but they're all the same color. So they come and they look at us as they're not looking at us and making a connection like that with us. That's what I've experienced.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for watching last episode. This is another episode. I'm with my guests over here. Today, we're going to be talking about misconceptions between Africans and Americans. And I'm the host, Brian, or Bright.
Rochelle.
Candy.
And those are our guests today. So they've introduced themselves, and we're going to jump on to the questions. So what are some of the common misconceptions you all hear about Africans?
As far as, like what? Like as far as?
Generally, what's the most known misconception?
Well, I attended Lincoln for probably about a year and a half, and there were a lot of Africans. It's a heavy African population. So, I, with my assumption, I did think Africa was primitive because at that time, that's what we saw. That was the media splash at that time. Yeah. So I know things have changed. So I saw a lot of tribal and primitive, and so that's what I assumed. But when I got to know, I had friends. I had a healthy group of African friends, and so when I really got to know them, it was completely different. It was my friend. She was like, "Well, it's very metropolitan. It's a metropolitan. We have braiding. We do. It's not a primitive culture." She said, "That's just what you see.
That's what they just portray.
That's what they portray." And she kind of compared it. She was like, it's just like we talk about with African American women, showing them as being promiscuous or being, in that negative light, loud or obnoxious. Yeah. She said those are the same kind of misconceptions. Yeah. So, yeah.
Did she have a chance to tell you the difference on how they behave like women back home and unlike over here?
Yeah. One thing she said, and this was funny to me because she said that, Africans are cleaner than that was the misconception as far as with the hair and everything like that. And she was just like that. Africans are more cleaner, like with braiding and, with us, we don't really take care of our hair and our skin the way they do. Okay. And I said, well, I did tell her. I said, well, no, that's a misconception. And she was just saying that's the impression that she kind of got when but this has been years ago. I know things have changed.
I mean, yeah, definitely the new age and everything.
Yeah, new age with media and everything. So it's, it's more, what people really do is being more portrayed. You see, definitely. You see
they bring more reality into it.
Yeah, it's more reality, but that was, years ago. So, that was one thing that, I was like, "No, that's not true."
Okay. So what's your input on that?
Well, I feel like it's the same. I feel like that a lot of times that what I've heard of African women, as far as feedback, as far as us, I feel like they put us in the same category, and they think that we are this. They always related to like hip hop culture or something like that. As far as African women, I don't. I don't know. I feel like that. I don't know if I would say like a misconception, because I'm still learning. Like, I don't know, but I just feel like sometimes I can feel like that. It can be like judging more so on the end of judging us.
Okay, so they're more pretty much judgmental than.
Yeah, I feel like, they judge more. It can be more like a judgmental thing, like thinking, having a view of us and thinking we're all the same. But I don't know if that's because being American, you always feel like you're under a microscope, like you feel like people are judging.
Is it pretty much, does it come from assuming or behavior wise of what they see?
Both. I hear, like she said, you friend, you hear things, like you'll read things on the internet, and you'll hear things, but I feel like it's more from that side. And then just experiencing different situations, stuff like that. So
Okay.
And I want to just jump in and chime into what she said.
Yeah.
I think that we're coming from two different cultures. I think
Definitely.
when, as an American, we feel interconnectedness. So we see ourselves and we say, we know how we behave, we know how we perform, and what the diaspora. I think that sometimes we assume that because a person's skin color, because they look like us, that they're going to have those same different things. So they're coming from a totally
different cultural background, yeah.
So they haven't had the experiences or the struggles or the misconceptions. So they're looking at us as the outside world will look at us, like somebody from France or whatever. Yeah. So they're saying, well, they're assuming that as well.
So the assumptions they came up with is what they used to.
Exactly, is what they use to measure us, because we have to know that they are coming from a completely different culture. They're not coming from the African American experience.
Yeah.
So it's completely different.
That's true. Okay. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think about the misconceptions that Americans think Africa is one country?
I think we are getting away from that. But yes, there are some similarities I see across, like with African, culture. There's some
Give examples that you've encountered.
Like, okay, so I would say that, like, just how how men and women are toward each other, like it's like more like roles, like the men more of the leader role, and then the woman is, it's more like the submissive role. So I feel like, okay, I'm just being honest, I feel like in relationship ways, like in African culture, the man is more thought of more almost like a father figure to the wife, or the
It's father figure.
Yeah, they're more like.
I'd like to understand that better. Elucidate. Let me hear that.
Okay, so in American culture, like it's more like you guys are like looked at as two separate individuals, like I don't want to say 50-50, but like you're equal role, like more equal roles. I mean, I know there's a head in everything, but in African culture, like I see that the men are more like the father. It's more like a protective, fatherly figure. So
they pretty much portray the leadership in the house.
Yeah, it's a leadership, but it's not. It's more of. The more I can say, it's like more like a fatherly role. I can't.
In what
like,
aspects? I'm trying to understand
I
that.
wish I okay. So like okay, so um, they are They look at their wives
Mhm.
as like their um something that they have to protect, something that they have to um take care of.
But
Like
it
you
is
would think of like you would think of like a daughter or a child, like or something like that. So that is what I have experienced, and it's just a different, a culture difference. I can't explain.
okay.
I
When
wish
you
I
say
could
that's what you've
articulate.
experienced, tell me the difference. Is it that you've experienced it in Africa or you've experienced it all over Earth?
With American women, we have more options. There's government assistance, and so in the households, it's like that. It's more like when us in American culture, it's like you looked at like 50-50. You're both looked at like kind of like the chief of the home. Both of you are coming into there equally. And then and men accept it, a lot of men accept it that way, like you're coming in equal instead of this provider. This person is up here, the provider, and then you have the person in submission to that. Now, coming from a Christian family, we do respect like submission, a woman submitting and things to the home and things of that nature. But again, when you think about how we are socialized, because we have to turn to other options, whereas an African woman, they may be like they may not have that assistance. And so they are looking for the man to be that provider, be that person to step up in the role, be that person to actually take care of them, And so that's what I feel is like the difference. What do you?
It ain't too different for sure. I mean, the controversy comes in between being a man in the house and your wife trying to speak up to it. So you pretty much like feel like you as a man in the house, you're not enough. Because if she has to question your authority, then you're not good enough.
Okay.
But if you have somebody who listens to you, I mean, the good thing is you got women who will listen to you. You might be wrong. They're gonna tell you, "Hey, baby, I think what you said was fine. Can we try this?"
Okay.
But if you speak at instead of speaking to, it tears down a man. The masculinity just wears off. It feels like.
I have a question, and I just do you think that's more because that in Africa it was tribal? You had I look at it sort of like Native American culture where they had to go out and hunt. The best hunter got, and so that was just the way it was. So some of that is ingrained, like if she's questioning your authority, more of that is ingrained in that culture, like that tribal culture. Would you say?
I mean, it comes differently with different women.
Okay.
The submissiveness has to be there for sure.
Okay.
So if your woman feels you're not doing something good, she will sit down with you and talk to you about it. But it's the way you approach, should I say a topic or conversation? It's the way you approach it.
Okay.
If you approach it with an attitude, it's not received well.
Okay.
But if you approach it with a conversation, be like, "Hey, I appreciate what you did, whatever. This is what you did, A, B, C, D. But do you mind trying A, B, C, D? Let's see how it pans out." And men will feel like, okay, she appreciates what I did, so let me try something different. Let's see how it works out. But if you come in and be like, "I don't like what you did. I want this." Nah, it's like I didn't do enough for you. So it's pointless for me doing what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah. So the submissiveness has to come with it for sure.
Okay. And so is that, like you said, is that part of African culture that?
Oh yeah, it is most definitely.
Okay.
It's natural for women, I think. Yeah. Now this is changing. People are borrowing the Western culture. People are borrowing the Western culture. But it was natural. Like if a female, I like using the word female. Some women don't like it. Okay. If a woman comes to your life, she already knows how raw. She gonna cook. She gonna clean. No questions asked. You ain't gotta say do this. And so do men do. They know it too. I have to provide. She don't have to say, "Hey, I need this."
Right.
The only thing she has to say in the house is like, hey, we out of groceries. So as a man, you leave the money in the house. Not exact. You can give extra. Be like, hey, if you did groceries and there was something else you didn't mention, that's going to cover it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that, I could see that. But like in American culture, that's like a total different thing. And I think on both ends, I think the men aren't expecting to be the one. And not all men, again, not all. This is just what I see like culturally, that in American culture, the men are not expecting to be the sole, I think like they're not expecting to be that. And I think naturally a man wants to lead. And so they don't even understand that they're lacking that respect. They don't even understand. They just feel like it's, oh, my woman may not be respected. I may not feel respected. But at the same time, they're not standing up into that role because they're expecting like the 50-50 kind of mindset. Like, and again, when I say 50-50, I'm not talking necessarily about finances. I'm talking about 50-50, like say so in the home, say so. Whereas when you think of a leadership role, you think of the man, they have the final say so, so. I think.
The 50-50 part you say about if it's financial wise, I'm not going to speak about that, but the 50-50 part comes in between where about a man knows he has to provide a roof over the family. He going to do that. But what we know is most men, we don't have to do anything about in the house. Co-decoration and everything, that's a woman's job. It's not like we're putting on to you, but women like their house to look some type of way. Men do differently. But the reason why we leave it to the women is because they nurture the house. Like, it's for the kids. They bring comfort and everything. And the man is going to do everything out there. A woman is not going to do that. So he knows I'm going to do this out there. If I have to fix lights, cars, and all that, she don't know nothing about that. I got to do it.
Yeah.
So, I know my roles. She knows how
So that's what we always talk about, like the roles. I think in American culture, our roles have gotten so lost, like mixed up.
I think it gets lost in this concept of independence.
Yes. And people think that women, we want to be independent. But that's our desire. Most women don't want to be independent.
But if you don't want to be independent, stop shouting out here that I'm an independent woman, because we're going to take it that way.
Yeah, well,
and I was going to say, I think sometimes that's the backlash. It's more of a backlash.
Yes.
Because somebody is saying they're not fulfilling that, and they're kind of being demeaning you in a way. So that's a way of backlashing and say, well, I don't need you anyway. It's almost like you're butting heads. But it's saying these things because it's a backlash. Like, things are going to get done without you being there anyway.
And even with that being said, even going further, like you were saying, like even when women get divorced and then they just have nothing to fall back on, like they have to fall back on government services, or they just hit rock bottom. Like I saw one lady had to sleep in her car and her child, God forbid, ended up passing away in the cold. But people will lash out at the woman and say, you should have been independent. You should have had this in place. You should have been, like, if we rely to, they like, oh, don't rely totally on them. And you should know better. So it's almost forced that you have to have that independency, because if you don't, then it's like this your fault. When it all boils down, the women expect to make sure that child is clothed, that child has a roof over their head. That is what people look at from the women. They don't look to the men. Oh, you should have known that you couldn't depend on a man. You should have known he would have backed out. You should have known. So what was your plan? Why would, and women experience that, when.
But I think women know it early before it happens.
Like when
a woman can tell if she can see a future with you or not.
True, but
and that's when a woman can plan for herself, be like, I'm gonna do my thing.
Okay.
If this happens, then I'm ready and set.
But when we talk about too, like just even like me having daughters, you were going to tell your daughter, make sure you're good. Make sure, like, because if you teach them that, okay, one day you're going to grow up and you're going to have a man and then he's going to provide, there's no assurance in that. So you got to teach them independence. And so
but let them not shout it. I mean,
I agree. I agree. That's what I'm saying. It's like on both ends. It's like it's just on both ends. It's there's some negativity on both the man and the woman end. Like women can be overly. Oh, I'm independent, and but overall, like the average woman, I would go out on a limb and say the average woman do not want to be like holding down their household, like that by themselves. They want a man in the home. They want to be submissive and relax and lay back and know that, okay, my man got it. Most.
So you're saying that, what do you think attracts a man to come to you? Without you, like, should I say, pushing them away?
I think.
I mean, I understand you said you gotta teach your kids to be independent and all that before they get a man. But I'm not the thing. The thing that I'm putting across is teach them to do it, but not let them not shout it out there. Be like, I'm independent. No, do your thing. Yes. If you got a man, treat a man like you're supposed to treat a man, for sure. But don't push it all. Don't slap it on their face. Be like, I don't need you. I can take care of myself. Yes. You've already told him you don't need him, so he don't see no point of being there.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like you should make a man feel like me, because I feel like, I do. I want you. I need you. I feel like that. But I know some women, like she said, it's just a backlash from what they experienced and what they felt like they had to do, and being shamed for not taking care of business, being shamed for, a woman is going to look at, even like that woman who her kids, that nobody's asking, where's the man, where's the, it's put on like, what resources, what did you do, and so I think that's why, now I've been blessed, and we've been blessed to have a father that holds down a household, is a provider, that instilled in us, that, the man is the head and we come together as one and all of that. But everybody haven't had that experience. So, all they're doing is they saw their mom had to hold down the household, had to cook, hold down 2 and 3 jobs. And, we don't get to wake up and say, oh, it's optional. It's optional that I take care of this. It's optional, where a man can go out and leave, and it's optional. So that's from a woman's perspective. I know men have their complaints too, because, but from a woman's perspective, to speak to that, it's not, most women are not just puffing their chest up wanting independence. They're not wanting to be that. They want to be in their role. And I think, like, historically, it falls into that category, because historically we end up being socialized different, because we had to be the head of the household so much, and so that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it is. Okay. All right. So what do y'all think about the misconception about every African being poor?
We are definitely getting away from that, but I think that, it just is a misconception. Like, I feel like Africans are hard workers. I feel like Africans are, just culturally, overall. I know there's different countries and different, but, I feel like they are hard workers. They come over here and they work hard. And, we as African Americans, a lot of times we have that sense of closeness to Africans, so those stereotypes I feel like are starting to go away.
I mean, with the modern age, a lot of things are fading out.
Yeah, and I would say that too. Like, as I stated, when I went to Lincoln, Africans were successful. They were the ones that were, making the decisions. They were the ones that were getting the high marks. They were the ones that were, succeeding. Yeah. So I looked at them as any immigrant. Like, they would come here and they would just overperform. They were a lot of, when I was going to school, they were going to be, a journalist and, the things of that nature. So I've always, from my experience in that respect, saw them as successful, extremely successful, as extremely successful a group. Okay. So, but I did feel some kind of way when I went, because it was sort of like, well, sometimes they would feel like, oh, well, you guys are lazy. You Americans, you complain too much. You have so much,
Right.
and and you have a lot of opportunities, and you're not coming, you're not making the mark.
Yeah.
So I did feel that way. I felt like that way in the sense where they were come and they would be high performers, and then they would look at us and they kind of like, well, is y'all just smoke weed or just, what are y'all doing here? So that aspect, they would come and they would really be successful. They would do the things that they needed to do. And that's what I saw. And maybe because I was seeing that group of immigrants that come here with the mindset to excel.
Do you think there was a truth to it, or that's just a misconception?
I think it was a misconception in a sense where I would say, because when you come to another country, that is your mode of operandi. You're there to do a certain thing. You're there to excel. Now, it may not be that all over the country. Everybody may not do that, but that small group of immigrants with Asians or any immigrant that come into, you're seeing that top tier. You're seeing the ones that come with that frame of mind that they're here to excel, but that may not be all of the people. That may not be the population that comes.
Yeah. I think that relates to a question I was going to ask. Some misconception that I've had. I'm not saying it's true. I've had a lot of Americans say Africans think they're better than Americans.
That's what it comes across.
Yeah,
it does. It comes across like, and I think like because they separate themselves from us. And I think that they do it, and this is just my opinion, I think that they do it like a girl said, because it's tribal. Like when you go to Africa, most of the people are, Black people.
Yeah.
So you're not separating, where we in America, there is different races. And so we got to stick together, in these areas. So when we see a Black person, we think, okay, we stick together. We see another person, where y'all think like, no, y'all feel like you ain't from, Europe, or whatever. Yeah. So it's like we see the connection, but Africans don't necessarily see that connection as much.
And I wanted to, I'm sorry.
No,
I wanted to reiterate that, like what she said, it's mostly a cultural thing. They're not looking at us, they haven't had the experience that we have. So, whatever they're seeing on the media or how African Americans behave, that's what they come in with the mindset. It's like, you must be lazy, or you must be wretched or ghetto. You're this way. So they're coming with that same mindset. They're not coming with the mindset because they're coming as a different culture. They don't see a connection, based on skin color, because their culture is different. There's so many Africans, there's so many different tribes or different religions or different, but they're all the same color. So they come and they look at us as they're not looking at us and making a connection like that with us. That's what I've experienced.
I mean, I'd say we'd love to make the connection, like for sure. For me, I want to make the connection. But the problem comes in between. I'd say I'd expect you to teach more about your country, but at the same time, I'm finding you don't know more about your country yourself. So I have to dig more out.
When you say you don't feel like we know about our country.
No, I'm not saying culture-wise. Like, let's say, okay, so for sure, we're coming over here to live the American dream. That's what everybody call it. The reason we're coming down here is for jobs and all that. Okay. So we get down here, we're trying to earn more and all that. So if we get down here and we're starting earn the same as you earning, so we're trying to find out, do you know other jobs that can pay more than this? Do you know another place? Do you know something better than I can do other than this? Teach me. Show me the ways. You've been here your entire life. Show me. So it's not like we see ourselves better. We just want to challenge ourselves to do better.
And this is what I would say about that, because there's so many systematic things that have been put in place to hinder African Americans. There's so many stereotypes. So we lived in a hostile culture amongst ourselves, saying that you're not good enough. You're not, you can't achieve these things.
Right.
You have all these things put into place of where you should live, who you can marry. Those things have been our struggle, and still is a part of our struggle. So a lot of times, a lot of things have happened to halt us, to basically stop us in our tracks from progressing.
Yeah.
So that is our struggle. We understand that as African Americans, we understand that struggle. It's not that we're not good enough or articulate enough or we can't achieve those things. But a lot of times there's been things that have been systematically in place to hold us down, to say, hey, no, you're not going to progress amongst of what you've already have achieved.
Yeah.
So then when some Africans come over and they see, they think, well, why haven't you achieved? Why haven't you've done these things?
Until they fall in the same pit again.
Right. And they don't see all of the things that we've had our ancestors have had to deal with that has been basically that we've inherited.
Yeah.
We've inherited those things.
And that's true. And to be fair, if I go over to Africa, the average person, are they going to be able to tell me, how can I make it? How can I thrive here? Can they give me all the channels to thrive? They could tell me how to survive, or they could tell me how to survive and what I need to do, and how to make some fufu and how to, what I'm saying, put on my little moo for my. But are they gonna really tell me how to? Or are they gonna really know how to? Most people just, even if you have, we don't have all the answers to thrive, and it's not meant for us, because if every single person was successful, every single person, like I always say, if everybody is rich, nobody is rich.
True.
If everybody's so really it is a system, and you have to just learn. I think when it comes to surviving, it's your own internal motivation, your own internal determination. So nobody can really give you the answers, because it's really how much you decide to put into it to survive. How much determination do you have? How much are you willing to study? How much are you willing to, and I think having the confidence to go in places, do different things. So it's not just cut and dry, because any country I go to, the average person, they're average for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Nobody can just tell you, oh, well, yeah, here's the answer, and you can, hit these levels and things of that nature. This system, when you think about taxes and everything, it's meant to keep you at a certain level.
True.
It's meant to keep you working. It's meant to keep you, it's not meant to just get rich and then figure, everything. No. It's meant to, the more you making, the more taxes I'm taking out. You get a gift, we take 30% off the top, so it's not meant for everybody to just come and break, the ceiling. It's just not meant for that,
So if you had to speak to somebody who hasn't been here already, if they had to travel, what's the one thing you would tell them to be ready for when they get down here for workspaces, work environments, and all that?
I would say that, the more that you're enmeshed in the culture, and just being honest, the more you're meshed in the culture, the more you're able to assimilate, within that culture, the better chances you have. If I don't like to sound like that, but I honestly believe that if you're able to assimilate more, then you're able to be more successful, learning the ins and outs, learning dress codes and things of that, just culturally. That's what I've experienced myself as.
So they should come with less expectations. They should come with less expectations and be ready to learn.
Yeah, like she's saying, and I think that's corporate, when we're thinking of corporate world. Yeah. So what I would say is culture capital. It's not, I would say it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. It's networking, it's getting to know the right people, getting to know the right people, getting next to people. What do you want to do? What do you want to get with those people? Get with people you already see doing those things. Get with people that's already next to, you know what I'm saying? Go to places that's going to expose you to more people. It's definitely, I would say, we live in a world of, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah. And even when you think of top business people who make a lot of money, they don't know it all. What they do is they hire the people who know it all. They hire these people in this area. They hire these people in this area. They hire the best of the best. So you got to get with people that already know the game. If you see this person is good at this, and get, just like even when you see online, this relationship advice for people who don't have a relationship.
People are seeing,
people are telling you instructions on what to do, and they don't have have any of the relationship situations or expertise, but you have to get with people who actually is doing the thing and is being successful at it, whether that's selling things, and I would say read books on people who is actually doing the thing. Get to the channels, listen to channels that are doing the things and that are successful at it. Get a mentor, because there's only so much information you can get online. I mean, you can get a lot of information online, but there's only so much secrets that people are going to expose to you online. So get with a mentor that is actually doing the thing that you want to do or something similar, and then get with them and start doing those things. And then, like she said, dress the part, look the part, already be like already dress the part, already look the part. I believe in looking the part, looking like where you want to be, where you want to go. Do not say, well, when I get there, I'm going to do this. Already have that mindset that this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to be. And that's why I say it's really about how you motivate it internally. It's really about how far you want to go. You can go very far, but it's all internal. How far am I willing to go? What am I willing to do? Am I going to be too shy to do this? Am I going to be too scared? Am I going to put this off? What are you doing? You will be successful if you make those moves. Most people, the average person, just don't want to make those moves. It's too much. It's too daunting. I mean, you just don't, but again, my main advice is just pretty much get in spaces that you see people doing this and thriving in those places. Yeah.
You've spoken about, okay, so given what you said, do you think the American dream is achievable for everyone?
I think it is. I think, it is achievable. I think that there's a lot of obstacles. I think there's a lot of things that can hold you back. I think that there's a lot of things, but I truly, if you are really determined, then I truly believe that you can be successful if you continue to try, you continue to do those things. And like I said, it's how far you want to go. Even like she said about changing some things about yourself. And people think about, well, I don't want to change that. I don't want to change who I am. But think of changing like when you change your body. You're not changing the body trying to be somebody else. When you're going to exercise and working up and you want that body composition that and doing all of that, you are making yourself better. You are honing in on those things. You're trying to make yourself better. So if you have to do things to make yourself better, it's not changing or becoming, it's just think of it as improving yourself.
Better yourself,
I wanted to chime in to say to what she says, I do believe the American dream is possible. All of our dreams are not going to be the same. They're not going to be the same.
True.
I believe that it is possible. I completely agree with what Candy was saying, that it's your own internal will. Whatever you want to do, you can do. I always compare it to athletes. A lot of athletes, they'll go in and they work 20 hours a day. Some of them they're working hard for that physique, for that to be the best. So they're putting in the work to do it. And they're putting in because they have a goal in mind. They said that this is what I'm going to achieve. So I think when that's inside of you, internally, if whatever you want to achieve, and if you're going to work towards it, I believe that it is possible. I believe that it's possible. So I have to agree with what she said. It's if you put in the time, if you say that I'm going to get the mentor, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm willing to do it, then that's what I'm going to do. A lot of us don't want to, we're not going to put in that kind of work. It's like, I know I'm not going to go 12 or 15 hours to work out. So I'll never be that top athlete.
Right.
Because I know that, that's
maybe
not
11 and a half. Because she do work out a lot.
So, I know, but there's other things that I know that I want to accomplish, and I am willing, So I think that it's what's inside of you.
Yeah.
And that's that internal drive. So it is possible. I believe too, it is possible for you to achieve your dream,
Okay. You mentioned obstacles. What do you think are some of the obstacles that hold somebody back?
Anything like obstacles can be, first of all, internal. It could be like trying to go around, like, how am I going to get this business loan? How am I going to get this credit card? Or what about my finances? And then that fear of taking money, and that's my biggest thing, that fear of taking money and losing it, and trying to change your mindset of like money should not be thought of like something that I have to hold on to. It should be thought of like an investment I should be able to put in and get out. So it's like internal obstacles, and then it could be like limitations of it could be racial limitations. It could be limitations based on your current finances. It can be lack of time, just a lot of different obstacles. Like I said, internal and external obstacles.
There's a misconception about some Africans think a lot of Americans, if not all, they're wealthy.
Yes. That is true. They do think that like just money. And I think because we have a system that we can go to credit cards and outside sources, and we can pretty much get what we want, pay a little bit at a time. But that doesn't really translate like here to wealth. It's just that I can get what I want
just in
cross, but debt, exactly. It's a debt. It's just debt. It's just that it's harder to come by money.
I was trying to make sure you don't talk about that, but you are pushing the point of Africans think y'all are just got money just because of debt. So y'all are living in debt. Y'all are not living in your own money.
Most Americans are living in debt,
and that's the way our system works. It's so weird, because when I was going out to purchase a house, I wanted to purchase a house, and they talked about debt to credit ratio, things of that nature. That you have to acquire, you have to have some debt. You have to have a credit card. And I was like, so you want me to? She said, yeah. We want to see your history, how you've paid on
your credit cards,
your credit cards of that nature. So our system is that's how the engine moves. It's like you have to have that debt to have anything. They want to that's part of our system. Where in other cultures you're saving and all of that. So we're expected to have a healthy amount of debt. And they want to see how we've been paying on that debt and how we've been paying on the credit card. The first advice my banker gave to me, she said, go out and get a credit card. I want you to open up a credit card, and I want you to make a big purchase. And I was like, and she said, and I want you to.
Seems like a bad advice.
I know. But that's how you build your credit.
That's how you build your credit. She said, that is how
I understand, but it's a bad example if you give somebody new.
Yes.
They'll max out on it, and they will not pay back.
And she told me, and she said, I want you to pay on that credit card, and I want you to build that credit history. And she said, I want you to do that. And I want you to, all the small debt, pay down, but I want you to continue to build this credit card. And she said, therefore, you have a history. You have a history of paying on something big.
Yeah.
So it's sort of how our American dream works. It's like,
yeah, it is.
It's how it's set up.
Because who's going to have $200,000 to just to buy a house? Like, you got to have that, or, whatever it's costing, just to give if somebody dump me in America and say pay cash for everything, it's going to take a lot longer to like accumulate.
You know what's funny? That's what I used to do for 2 years. I used to pay everything in cash.
And you have to continue.
Yeah, that's what we used to do. And the funny thing is, I was going to say Africa, but I don't know about other countries in Africa. But me being in Kenya, you don't get no credit cards. You don't get it's whatever money you got that's gonna buy you what you want.
Yep. And that's why y'all be thinking we rich.
Exactly.
That's why y'all be thinking we rich, because I'm like, nah, I'm not just waking up paying, X amount for something. Like, go out, I'm gonna give me a $60,000 card. I'm finna just throw you 60.
and another thing is, it's like, our system is built that way. It's like, even when you want to send your kids to college, you're mortgaging your home. Yeah. You're not paying cash for that. You're mortgaging. You're making those big purchases off of what you already have.
Yeah.
So our system is set up. And so when people say, like, wow, they're getting all of this stuff, but this is how our system is set up. We don't have to go out and pay, like you said, $200,000. We can pay a portion of that. And then we can borrow off of our homes. We can do those types of things to send our kids to college. So that's kind of how it operates.
And then you pay the big man the interest.
Wait, hold on. Speaking of, how much is the interest in the houses actually?
Now, I don't know how much it is now. My interest was real low. It's real low. But I don't know how much it is now and how much it goes up to now. Yeah. So they're not worth it. They just got credit. That's right. Yes. Let them know. Yeah. Come over here. You're gonna be paying.
All right. Another misconception is about Americans being materialistic.
It's true. We are. I mean, we are. We're materialistic. Like, it's no, and I'm speaking as a whole, generalizing. I don't think every single person is materialistic, but I mean, when those things are put in your face, and it's through the music and through the, TV, it's just and not just the hip hop, but just period. It's like, but hip hop culture is real big on that. You're right, like really big on that, hopefully we start to kind of get away from those things, like,
Do you think it's gonna happen?
No, I personally don't, because our system is a capitalism. Yeah. We are a capitalistic system, so we market. Right. That's how we make our money. I'm selling you something. I'm selling you, even with the entertainment, I'm selling you my beauty. I'm selling you my body. I'm selling you this. I'm selling you, and in that, like you have the Louis Vuitton and all of that is, I'm selling something. I'm selling a product. So I think that our system is that way.
So it builds the pressure for everybody.
Yeah. You don't feel like you're successful. You know what I'm saying?
It's like you don't belong.
Right.
Or like, even when you're looking at a commercial, as much time as we sell the top. This is the top Downy, a fabric softener or whatever. Even for that, of the freshness, it's a market. It's a process of marketing, and we're selling. So it's hard for us to kind of evolve and get away from that, because that is what our system is built on. It's built on capital, making as much capital as you can. How do you do that? You market.
True.
You market a product, you market yourself, you market whatever you're marketing.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we're
and of course people won't look at you as successful. Like, you got a 2,000 square foot home and 10 people living here, and you driving this car and barely making, like, even though you are making a living, you making an honest living, you're surviving, people want to feel like, oh, I'm successful or I'm living the American dream, whatever that is nowadays. But, people, it's just the pressure of how we're socialized, what we're taught, what we're feeling is success. Like some people and like some cultures may feel like you having a certain family structure is that's successful. If I'm a woman and I'm single, I'm not successful, So it's going to be those pressures going to be put on you, Yeah, you're going to have some outliers or some people who like, well, no, I'm good. I'm not going to, get that. And I'm fine with this and stuff. And so, it's just redefining what success is, if you, what is success to you? And I always say that's my thing is, what is success to you? Just because success to some person is A, B, and C does not mean success to you should be those things. Determined by those things. I think that what makes your life better, what makes your life easier, what makes your life, more enriched, fulfilled, and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And I would chime in with Candace. We grew up sort of in a Christian atmosphere. So we had, we're a culture within the big culture.
Yeah.
So a lot of our concepts stem from that. It stemmed from our values, what our parents instilled in us as Christians.
Yeah.
So it was our values. So coming into a bigger culture, that wasn't as important I would say, to us about the wealth, but it's still, like you said, it's still socialized very heavily in the mainstream culture of what, you're not living unless you drive this, or you're not successful unless you're doing that. So a lot of people subscribe to that. So they're looking for that type of validation. Oh, I have to be driving this car. I have to have this type of thing. And then I know that I'm successful. When I first even start working, I would see people in poverty, but you didn't know they were in poverty because they were wearing the most name brand shoes. They were wearing they were all decked out, that nothing, I would hear kids say, nothing touched my feet but Nike, nothing, Jordans, that's it. So that was very important to them, to the appearance, which is nothing wrong with that, because people have those, like Candace saying, those things that fulfill them, that make them feel worthy, successful. Everybody has that. So, but that was the concept of it was being pushed. So it looked, because I was like, goodness, your shoes cost more than my purse or whatever, I would see, but those were the things that were important, and that's among mainstream culture.
And I was gonna say, and that type of attitude even come from having a lack, saying that I don't have these things, I can't obtain these things. And so you try to go and get the things to prove that you can. To prove that you obtain. And I see that not just in America, like in other countries, poor countries too. They'll wear the brand of something that they, it's like I can't, don't have access. So it makes them feel more important to have certain things or certain,
Yeah.
It brings a sense of satisfaction, I guess.
Yes.
Or like you said, or assimilation, a part of that culture. This is what the culture is doing. So I feel more respected or accepted if I'm participating in these things as well. So
it's true.
All right. What about the misconception of Africans living in the jungle or the rural areas, or Africa being known as a one big safari?
I have a story.
Hence the saying, Africans be fighting lions and tigers.
Right. Yes, I have a story about that. I'm telling you, and this is a true story. When I was, and like I said, everything's changing now. But when I was a little girl, I used to see the Feed the Children.
Yeah.
You would see the
flies
Feed the
everywhere.
Children and flies everywhere, and you were like, "Mom,
That's
what's
Africa.
This is Africa. Look at those poor people. Poor people. What's going on? Why? And so I used to think that that's all of Africa. All of Africa is poor, and there's people with flies everywhere and gnats all over. And you have to give money. You know what I'm saying? Because that was But that's part of marketing, American marketing.
Sure.
It's like, we're giving our money because we're saying, oh, we got to feed those people in Africa. We got to feed those poor children in Africa. But I learned even that's a marketing concept, because even at that time, all Africa wasn't like that. That was a small part that you were being shown, for a specific purpose. So at that time, that's what my concept was Africa. Or I would watch like you said, the wild safari where they're going off into the explorers, some guys going off into the jungles of Africa and fighting the tigers, and they got their cameras down low and they're looking. So you're looking like, oh my God. So you're thinking that this is no.
That's the lifestyle.
But we can thank our American nation for that.
Yeah.
American culture, because that's when you're thinking the great safari hunt. They're down and with their cameras looking for lions and tigers. So I at that time, I assumed that most Africans were that was Africa.
That was the livelihood.
And that happened to us bad, like in the 80s and 90s. Like they were really showing us in one particular light.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's nothing wrong with like a person being themselves and talking a certain way, being a certain way, but that's not all.
Yeah.
That's not all. Yeah. So I think that we just blame media, and that's the positive thing about social media is that we can see that there's different people can put their own personal stuff out to show that this is not it. This is not where it's instead of where media where it's controlled. This is just showing one side. So a lot of our stereotypes come from just what we see in the media,
What we see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that relates to what we used to see back in the day too, back in Africa.
Yeah.
We used to have those stories of Americans crying they poor, but if we see the TV, y'all got fancy houses and everything, still y'all crying you're poor. Hell no, you're not poor. You're not poor. Somebody says, like let's say in St. Louis, you got much better houses. Then somebody says, I'm from the ghetto. Stop playing. You're not from the ghetto. You live in a better house than we do. If you come to the ghetto back in Africa, that's something different what So yeah, I think the things we used to see on TV, were like, they just playing with us because that's not the ghetto. If they come to the ghetto, it's something totally different. But yeah, having lived over here, now I come to understand it. So
yeah, it's a standard. It's a standard of living. Because I was watching, I can't think of the movie where the little girl, she was in Africa and she was a famous chess player. She was, and the mother used to go from place to place. Like they lived like they stayed in like an old church or something. It was raining. They were looking for a place to stay. All she wanted is a house.
Yeah. And
the end of the movie, how it ended, is like they ended up able to afford and get a house. And they felt like that was successful. And that was, that was successful. But when you think here, it's how you socialize. So let's say if I'm living in an area where, everybody got, Chevys or whatever. And then I got my BMW and stuff. I feel like I'm look at me, but then I get to a area with higher income and everybody is riding Bentleys, and then now my little BMW. So now you're starting to compete with that person.
True.
And so it's like it never stops. Then you go up to another, whatever, you're not with the doctors and lawyers, now you're with the millionaires, and so now you're competing. You're feeling like I have to assimilate with that particular group, because it's just
it's what they say, there's always somebody better than you.
Right. And so you got to be self-sufficient inside. You got to feel that sufficiency and validation within.
True.
And I'm big on that, like instead of feeling like you competing with somebody else. And I also feel like that you got to do, like we were saying earlier, what pleases and motivates you. Like I like fashion. And I remember I had a boss and I was making a joke to my friend. I was like, I'm about me buying something. And my boss was like, he was a white male. He was like, why wouldn't you spend that money on a maid? Like he was thinking it's a waste of money. Well, that's not what improved my life. I can clean my own house. And matter of fact, I like cleaning my own house. You know what I'm saying? But what is going to enhance your life? Because some people may talk about people spending a lot of money on cars, which you may be excited, because when you are happy, like when you are excited, when you're happy, and things can't make you happy forever.
No, yeah.
But when you are doing things that are pleasing to you, you know, when you think about the chemicals that are releasing in your brain, you actually can live longer. But if I'm doing something that is good for somebody else, you know what I'm saying, then it's not
satisfaction.
Yeah, it's not satisfaction. It's like, you know, somebody may like nice cars, but then you may want to spend your money on a golf resort, or this person may want to spend their money on travel. So I don't think people should criticize a person, you know, yeah, let's do things not frivolously, but you know, you shouldn't criticize what improves
Somebody
this
else
person.
doing
Yeah,
it.
what improves their person. So it kind of just redefines what is success. What is success to you? What is being successful to you? Me, it may be a housewife. Somebody else, it may be a corporate America, or, you know, rising as high as I can in corporate America.
Yeah.
Another person, entrepreneurship, etc. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's nice. I feel some type of way saying this, but how about the thing about Americans being obsessed with fast foods?
I do believe, yeah, that was true. I think we're pulling away from that. I say that because there were so many documentaries done on that, you know, and you know about how much Americans consume fast food.
You know,
And we also got to look at historically. Women were in the homes.
Yeah.
They were cooking. When women got into the workforce, cut down the time. So then TV dinners got introduced into it. Then we got fast food. So now to me, it's about strategy. Sometimes you got to cook and freeze the food, and maybe, you know, because realistically, most people are working like 2 jobs. You know, realistically, you just don't have the time. So it's not like a person is saying like, oh, I want fast food. It's just that it was just realistic for me to come home after working, you know, 7 to 3:30, got to get the kids together, got to do this, and then turn around and I got to cook all night. And if you want to cook some, you know, you cooking,
it takes
just don't take some time.
And 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah, so that actually was introduced, like TV dinners during that time when women were actually getting into the workforce, you know, and more women. And so even when women get into the workforce, the economy, what happens? So it forces, like now it has to be 2 people to work. I mean, not every single situation, but when it boosts the economy, guess what happens? Women have to, other women have to go into the workforce because so it's just like, we got to think about historically what is going on, what's happening. And so I think that's where a disconnect comes from. A lot of times we judge mental of things and we don't realize the history and what's pushing this type of thing and what's happening around us.
Yeah, she made a good point. The culture shift.
Yeah,
you know, you had women that were in the home, and so now that became the prominent way of getting food. You know, you go, you get off work, you go to another job, your kids have to eat, so you pick up something. You know.
Yeah.
So that culture shift
it cuts down.
Yeah, and we didn't know when it first happened. We didn't know how unhealthy fast food was.
Absolutely.
We did not know, like, all the preservatives
to save time.
Yeah, it was just a convenience. We thought we were getting like cooking a burger at home ain't the same as getting the fast food burger. Right. And we didn't know that back in, like, you know, when it first was getting popping. Now we know. Now we're starting to understand, wait a minute, this burger lasts a year. You know what I'm saying? Like the amount of preservatives in this burger, you know, so now we are knowing, and I think that's important. Now that we're getting educated that, wait a minute, this stuff isn't good. People are trying to find ways, like they got fresh, HelloFresh, and different ways of getting healthier foods, you know. And to be honest, the food here, even the healthier foods, not always all that healthy. You know, a lot of the stuff is hidden things in it, and you have to look at numbers on the fruit to see if how the fruit is growing. And
actually, it's not that fresh, because what I heard is there was a Walmart employee being questioned. Then he said, when they go to the aisles, They take the fruits out, and then they take them to the back. They only take out the rotten ones. Then the fresh ones, they put them in the new tub. Then they put
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a lot of tricks that they do. And then like even the fruits, some of the is genetically engineered and all the modified and stuff like that. So even the healthier things, we don't know what we're doing. Then you think about planting in the ground. Some areas, the ground is contaminated. So it's we're trying, and I believe that all you can do is just do the best that you can, do the best you can, and try to, and there's actually chemists that put together a perfect formula to make the chips and stuff addictive.
Yeah.
And, so like people are working to make the food addictive so you can want to desire to eat
it every time. Yeah.
When I went to Gambia, I got full real fast. Like I found that I was getting full. Like the food was like, it wasn't like this craving that I was having. Like I would eat a small meal, then, and my sweetheart would be like, oh, that's all you eat? And I was like, yeah, I was, so it was just, yeah.
Yeah. You don't need a lot of food to get full. Yeah.
Right.
Wow, that was a good session we had.
Yeah.
We discussed a lot for sure. And for everybody watching, let us know your input. Let us know what we did. We did mention wrong. The things we said wrong, correct us in the comment section. Let us know so next time we can correct them. And with all that being said, it was nice seeing you and having you on this show. Thank you. Until next time.